Do you know what I wish, ladies and gentlemen? I wish I covered Chelsea, that I was a YouTuber back in the 2016-17 season. Oh, could you imagine the joy it would have been to work on this channel, Football Therapy? Diego Costa bagging goals on the regs, Chelsea just flawlessly winning all the time, Victor Moses looking like a world-class right wing-back. Yo, what's poppin', people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well, I genuinely do hope that. Though, if you're a Chelsea fan, you're probably perplexed, on the edge, confused, and rather disheartened, maybe? Of course, Chelsea lost to Championship side Middlesbrough yesterday in the semi-final. Of course, this is the away leg, and we still need to take them to Stamford Bridge, but it was a damning performance, and questions have surfaced yet again about the Chelsea manager, Mauricio Pochettino. Understandably, fans, media, all sectors in football culture, yeah, they'll do, have been debating on what the problem is at Chelsea Football Club. I'm going to speak to you today and cite a couple of articles, one from the Telegraph, one from the Standard, talking about that result generally, and also what's going on with Pochettino, and sort of wind it down with how I feel about the whole situation. And of course, as always, put it out to you guys. If you do want to support the content, you're welcome to, simply by liking, subscribing. I always urge you guys to comment as we go across the video. Hit the bell if you subscribe. Do feel free to follow me on Instagram at FootballYannick. Alright then, let's get into it. Let's start off with this article from Nizar Kinsella. Fresh questions from Mauricio Pochettino as game plan exposed in yet another setback. Every time Mauricio Pochettino looks to build momentum at Chelsea, it grinds back to a halt. Things were looking up following 3 straight wins after Christmas, but a reality check like a shock defeat at Middlesbrough was only around the corner. Middlesbrough Hayden Hackney scored the only goal to leave Pochettino facing more questions about whether Chelsea have actually got better under him. Impressive Borough manager Michael Carrick was the real match winner in the opposition dugout, exposing flaws in Pochettino's game plan. Cole Palmer was one of 2 Chelsea stars that played out of position, starting as a false 9, and he was wasteful in the first half in front of goal. Palmer missed a one-on-one, an open goal from close range, and several other big chances after starting up front ahead of Armando Broja, who was left on the bench. Carrick also targeted Levi Colwill, who played out of position at left back, and his mistake presented an early chance for Emmanuel Latte-Lath. Isaiah Jones then outfoxed Colwill to set up the winner. Thiago Silva failed to provide cover for the youngster, who was exposed by Jones' pace as Borough targeted his flank, and Moises Caicedo did not track Hackney, who swept home with aplomb. Chelsea were not awful in the first half, but they faded badly after the break. They put 21 aimless crosses to no real target before Broja came on in the 61st minute to help hold up the ball. Pochettino goes on to explain how Broja cannot start like a normal player, as he needs to rebuild fitness after a long-term knee injury. But if that's the case, why did he not rest him against Preston on Saturday so he was ready for a big semi-final game against Borough? The decision to take off Noni Madueke, who was wasteful but at least beat his man instead of Raheem Sterling when Mykhailo Mudryk was brought on, could also be questioned. Axel Disasi's terrible 35-yard shot ultimately summed up a dismal second half as Chelsea lost patience and looked mentally weak yet again. Chelsea have been hit by an injury crisis, but few will have much sympathy for Pochettino, who has still had big money signings, Mudryk, Fernandes, Caicedo, Sterling, Palmer and Madueke available. Whatever he has been doing, it does not appear to be working. Ange Postecoglou has transformed Tottenham in the same time and with considerably less money. Pochettino did inherit an unbalanced squad lacking cohesion, but last night's display against a side suffering an even bigger injury crisis was damning. Chelsea struggled to break down teams who defend on the edge of their own box and look vulnerable at the back. Pochettino pointed to missed chances, only half-time in the tie, and Chelsea are still favourites to beat Borough at Stamford Bridge and reach a Wembley final, but fans are rightly unimpressed, and a 5th defeat in 6 away games heaps more pressure, with Chelsea languishing in 10th place in the Premier League. A handmade sign at the away end which summed up the feeling of most supporters referenced the popular meme as it read, "Our expectations were low, but holy F you can finish that sentence. It looks like further frustrations boiled over after the final whistle when Silva went over to the away end. Pochettino insisted the Brazilian was playing as peacemaker, saying, "Don't be confused, the fans were reacting to the Middlesbrough fans, not with our players." But the latest embarrassment in a disappointing first season in charge for Pochettino only increases the scrutiny on him. It's not looking good, Brev. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the whole situation just after we cite the article from The Telegraph. But yeah, I want to gain as much data on what the papers are saying first, and then you and I can get in this together and really talk about how we feel about the whole situation. And what is the best course of action, which I feel like is increasingly difficult to really find. Luke Edwards of The Telegraph writes this: "There is a difficult question hanging in the air over Chelsea, one that lingers like a bad smell. Whether you think it has been removed, it comes back with a vengeance. It's a question that will make you feel a little uncomfortable, the harshness of it causing you to pause for a second before revealing it for public consumption." After 26 games under Mauricio Pochettino, have Chelsea got any better with the Argentinian manager? Is this Chelsea side playing any better than the one that Graham Potter was in charge of and lost his job over for supposedly failing with the quality of players at his disposal? Every manager deserves time to get their ideas across. Every manager deserves more than half a season in the job to turn things around, but whatever positive impact Pochettino has had, it is negligible. He has had plenty of time on the training pitch without any European games to worry about in his first season, but whatever they have been working on, it does not appear to be working. Perhaps it's the Postecoglou effect, maybe. The impact Ange has had in such a short period at Tottenham is distorting perceptions, what is realistic and what is not for a manager in Pochettino's position. But Spurs have been utterly transformed with their new manager, who, like Pochettino, was appointed in the summer, had only one transfer window, and considerably less money to improve and reinvigorate his squad. Then you remember the work done by Eddie Howe at Newcastle, where the manager spent money on better players, but also dramatically improved those which he inherited. He did it on the training ground, and he did it in his office, building relationships with players and trusting the senior ones to form their own leadership group, a holistic and forensically detailed approach that turned Newcastle from a relegation-haunted side into one that qualified for the Champions League inside 18 months. Neither of those two managers has spent as much money on players as Chelsea over the last 18 months. No team in Europe has spent more, 1 billion of course and rising. That though has been used as a defence for Pochettino, a mitigating factor as they languish in the mid-table of the Premier League. The argument is made that he inherited an unbalanced squad and a difficult dressing room to tame, full of talented individuals but lacking team cohesion. I would also add, lacking maturity. But what has he done to change that? Chelsea look like the same rabble of highly paid, supposedly superstar players that they were when he arrived. Is it worth highlighting that 5 of Pochettino's 12 wins as Chelsea manager has come in domestic cup competitions? 3 of them were AFC Wimbledon, Blackburn Rovers and Preston. They've all been lower league opposition. This was the first time they have played away in their run to the semi-finals in the Carabao Cup, and they lost. There is a strong argument to be made that they should not have lost at home to Newcastle in the quarter-finals, winning a game on penalties that they did not look like scoring until Kieran Trippier's mistake, of course, which gifted Mudryk the equaliser just before the end of the game. Pochettino pointed to missed chances after the game, but the vast majority of those came from Borough mistakes rather than incisive attacking play. The good news for him is that this is only half-time, the semi-final of course, after losing to Borough. Chelsea will be strong favourites to reach the final at Wembley. They should beat Borough at Stamford Bridge. They need to make sure of it. They will then be 90 minutes away from winning a trophy in Pochettino's first season, and none of the criticism will matter then. The bad memories will fade amid the celebrations of a cup triumph celebration. But if things do not improve, should they fail to beat Michael Carrick's side in a fortnight's time, the bad smell in the air at Chelsea could soon be replaced by an executioner's axe. Woo! Alright, let's get into it then. First of all, I understand why the conversation is there. Chelsea fans, I have a great deal of sympathy for Chelsea fans, including myself, of course. especially for those travelling away to Middlesbrough to watch that game. Of course, I uploaded a match reaction where I go into detail about Chelsea's loss to Middlesbrough. If you are interested in that, it's just the previous upload from this one, so do consider going to watch that. But let's talk about Pochettino a little bit more holistically now. First of all, sacking him now would be pointless. It just would be. There's no other manager available. The players haven't stopped playing for him. They seemingly like him. Just yesterday, Sky Sports did an interview of Cole Palmer speaking about how he's so good with the players. It would just upset the players if he sacked at the moment. And it was such this current iteration of Chelsea, this new massive squad, all they've known is instability, sacking. You know, Tuchel sacked, Potter sacked, Lampard in fleetingly, and what? Pochettino sacked, just constantly in and out. They'll just think, well, I'm never going to get my roots into this club. Now, even if Pochettino isn't the right guy, even in the short term, you don't sack him right now. He's got Chelsea to a semi-final in the League Cup. They will give him that game. You know, if Chelsea beat Fulham on the weekend, I think we go up to like 7th or something, and the charge is still on, still in the FA Cup. A very tough draw against Aston Villa, and of course 12 injuries. I know you can't use it as an excuse forever, and Borough had 14 injuries and still beat Chelsea, but Chelsea will look to all their injured players, whether it's Nkunku, whether it's Lavia, whether it's Fofana, whether it's like the absence of Jackson, you know, and the rest. You know, there is a lot, there is something to be said about that. I know it's boring, but Chilwell and James as starting fullbacks is a different ballgame. It is. I know it's no excuse. I think if Chelsea were good, if Chelsea were a settled side and as good as we should be, you can lose Chilwell and James and other people and still get by these fixtures. But I think there's an element of Chelsea aren't good. So when you lose all your important players, you're just dismal at times and confusing to the point where we all want to pull our hair out. Now, I'm not convinced by Mauricio Pochettino. I'm just not. I've always nailed my colours to the mast early doors here on the channel, saying I just don't think he's going to be the guy to win us like a Premier League, but I think maybe he could be appropriate for right now. I do still have some sympathy with him because it's just such a mentally difficult job, and this is why I don't think there's any point like helicoptering a random face in the middle of the season, and especially before the second leg of a semi-final. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's gonna be, oh my god, so what are you doing? You know, it's just pointless, I think. And like I said, I think that while the players still like Mauricio Pochettino, it's just pointless, isn't it? Look, if we really underachieve this season, if we finish outside Europe, if we don't qualify for Europe, if we don't win a cup, I think we should look at other managers in the summer, and a manager that can know what to do with these profiles. Look, again, we are long-term FC. Again, in theory, it's an thought exercise. Project 2030, this young, talented squad that will actually make Chelsea better for the long term. But the hardest part, genuinely, of this project is making it work right now. It's a sucky job, dude. It really, really is. Look, people will talk about their favourite coaches that they want to come in. Xabi Alonso would be referenced. And also, why wouldn't he want to go to, like, you know, Madrid or Liverpool or something? Why would he choose Chelsea? Maybe if the job offer comes in first, but you just imagine he'd go to his allegiances. And why would... Yes, he's doing amazing with Bayer Leverkusen. It's a different job. Why do you think he's the guy to save Chelsea? Like, there's just no rhyme or reason for a lot of it. People are just upset with what's going on, so they look around for immediate alternatives. But I just don't... I think while the job remains like this, I just don't think there's an alternative that can save us at the moment. I think... Fortunately, I do think with time, this inherently just does get a little bit better. I've mentioned it before. I know it sounds quite reductive, but literally the players growing up a little bit. And I mean that obviously like metaphorically and emotionally, but literally, physiologically, just being in London longer, having better relationships with each other, becoming more mature and less panicky. That comes with time. You know, that just comes with time. So there will be just a positive trend in that sense. But other stuff has to change. Look, if Pochettino, who I'm not very happy with, and I understand many Chelsea fans aren't happy with, if he learns himself, if he thinks, okay, I've messed up here, this wrong, look, you know, I can't keep playing Colwill at left back. Granted, we don't have any left backs at the moment. I know Martin's in Dortmund now. You know, if he thinks, look, as soon as Cucurella or Chilwell's back, I'm not going to play, you know, Levi Colwill at left back anymore. Great. You know, maybe he thought in his head Cole Palmer could do the striker thing. And early doors in that Borough game, when he sort of did the pressing, he intercepted the pass, he chased up the mistake, good striker stuff. He missed those absolute sitters. He vanished for the rest of the game. maybe he did turn into a 21-year-old boy who got inside his head after missing massive chances. That will get better inside. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he won't play him at striker anymore. Maybe Chelsea will just buy a proper centre-forward in this window. You know, there's a lot of stuff. But it's not good enough. It's not been good enough for, what, 2 years now, maybe, Chelsea? And while we have a squad like this, and we're very lucky in many ways to have very gifted young players, and not, you know, just good, we have got good assets, good players, but while the job is like this, it's just so tricky, and, you know, there'll be games when we play well and we don't play well, but the players need to get better. I think I'm more frustrated on the players yesterday. I think just the basics. Again, look at the previous upload if you want my take on that failure. Some of the individual mistakes were just profound. But it has to go with the manager as well. You've got to make a plan here, and you've got to stop making certain selections. It all needs to get better. It's all poor. And if it goes on, I mean, you'd have to say, if he gets eliminated, I'm trying to think of a scenario where he gets sacked this season. Remember, he's their man. He's the sporting director's man. He's the owner's man. They already, as was Potter, so they're starting to look very bad already. Do you know what I mean? So they won't want to sack him. If they feel like the summer, they'll need to try something else because it's not working with the squad. But say he loses to Middlesbrough at home, Stamford Bridge, that will create the headlines, and that will maybe call a meeting, and then maybe get eliminated in the next round by Aston Villa in the FA Cup, so we're out of all competitions, we can't win a trophy this season, and the rest of the campaign is just trying to gun for top 6, top 7, you know, in the Premier League, just winning every game in the Premier League. And if we're looking poor in all these competitions that we're getting eliminated in, and the head's starting to drop of the players, and you need a revitalisation, then maybe he gets sacked. But again, I see, if that does happen, I see an interim. I don't think Frank Lampard's going to get, wheeled out in, but I feel like they'll go for an interim. They'll go for someone just to kick them up the arse, play a 4-4-2 and be like, come on lads, let's just do it. Let's just try really hard and not let any, whatever. Let's play really direct. Let's play counter-attacking football. Maybe let them have the ball. Play really direct and just try and get some points on the board. Do you know what I mean? Something like that. Something like that. I can't see them going for a permanent appointment this season should they sack Pochettino. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, man. So I wanted to make this video, talk about what the papers are saying, which we've referenced, give you my thoughts. Please do leave yours in the comment section below. Do you see any benefit from sacking Pochettino now or before the end of the season? You know, that's totally fine if you do. I'll be very interested to learn the solutions that you would put forward if you think that is the solution. I know a lot of people are just upset and want to see a change, but they can't present an alternative, and when you can't do that, you're left with nothing, essentially. So let me know what you think. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for supporting the content. Of course, daily videos here, so do like and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you guys back here soon, hopefully. Alright, peace.